How's it going, everybody? Tony Vinodakis, chef co-owner of Jimmy's Famous Seafood. We're down here in Kent Narrows with Jason Ruth from Harris Oyster Company, here to do a nice oyster stew on this brisk day. Jason's going to give us a little background of his business here and what he does. Jason?
So we're about to go inside here, and I'm going to give you a little brief, show you guys what we're going to do. So when we come into the building, you're going to see our half shell operation set up. It's basically where we take oysters that come directly off the boats. We bring them into onto a conveyor system where the oysters are, individuals put them onto a conveyor belt where they beat off all the mussels and the barnacles and pick out the oysters that are dead, the ones that are misshapen. It goes through a high power pressure washer where they're washed and cleaned off. They're graded for size to whatever the customer specs might be and boxed up in the containers that those customers chosen. This is a continual process. We do it all day long, 365 days a year. Basically about 200 bushels of oysters a day go across this line with these 5 or 6 individuals that happen to be working here. The oysters that don't meet our criteria for half shell trade go into the shucking operation. There's a huge hopper system that holds up to 100 bushels. Those bushels get automatically fulfilled into a conveyor system, a carousel system I call it, that actually carries the oysters into the shucking room. Those oysters fill into the baskets, they carry it into the shucking room where there's individuals on each side of those baskets that dump them out. And here at Harris Seafood we use machines to help shuck our oysters. It's a small grinder that we fabricated ourselves, developed it over 30 years ago, that have a carbide teeth on it that actually make a small hole in the oyster. That small hole helps facilitate easier shucking. They don't have to find the perfect spot, it makes it for it. You stick your knife in, wiggle around, the oysters open right up, and the shuckers actually grade the oysters by size. They standard selects and counts as the biggest oysters. Once those shuckers get a full basket, a full bucket full of shucked meats, they take that into the skimming room, it's called, where the oysters are picked clean of any shells. They're put in appropriate containers for size, and they're put in these vats of water, which contain air that's injected into them. It gives it a washing machine action, washes the oysters all up, takes all the mud, the dirt, any sediment, any shells that are in there settle to the bottom of the tanks. The oysters are then drained out onto another table that drains all the water off, and they're packed into individual buckets, whether it's gallons, quarts, pints, half gallons, whatever the customer specs are, and sent out, that's iced and sent out that same day.
We just saw the awesome shucking operation inside, and we're just going to cook some oyster stew now. Very basic ingredients. Again, when it comes to seafood, just great ingredients and just know how to cook it. So we're just going to start with some butter. Put a little bit more. Let that melt. Of course, at Jimmy's we put a little bit of bacon in our oyster stew. We're gonna cook that bacon down and let it render some of the fat. Next, we're gonna take some onions. Yeah. A little bit of celery. Our celery and onions in there. This is where we're going to put our seasoning in too. So now we're going to put in some of those beautiful oysters we just saw in the back room. And then a little bit of heavy cream. I'm going to bring this to a boil and then let it simmer down for a couple minutes. Let it get a nice consistency to it. Yeah, so here we go. I don't think it can get any fresher than this.
It must be good. Well, all I can say is that you're welcome here anytime to come cook for me. It's a pleasure to have you.
Again, this is water to plate. Doesn't get any fresher. Once again, thanks a lot for having us.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's a true treat for me.
Anytime you're in the area, Kent Narrows, Maryland, check out our buddy Jason.